Well, it's a Wednesday, and you know our usual guests will be joining us in a bit. I'm talking about political scientist and director of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, together with Dr. Jabir Mohammed. He's a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. They'll be with us in a bit, but before that, let's come into the studio and just digest a few matters as they get ready to join us. I don't know, so far from the tail end of last week to now, what are some of the stories that have really caught your fancy, caught your interest?
More of awoken some sort of curiosity in me. This thing about the absence of the president, the vice president, and the speaker.
Ah, yeah.
Exactly what does the Constitution say? Who's breaching the law? What are the repercussions of it? And of course, minority and majority will be pouring in arguments. And it's theirs to do, you know. They have to be an active opposition. I'm curious to also hear from our guests what they make of the minority scrutiny of government since this year began, because I think we've not had any dull moments. And in as much as we might not like it, I think it's good for our democracy. So that is on my mind. And I can't wait to hear what Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante's take will be on this, whether or not the acting Chief Justice is in his place, within his rights to be the acting president at this moment, when all three people who, like the president, the vice president, and the Speaker of Parliament, are not in the country. I hear talks about processes to impeach. I don't know what you make of it, Ben. I don't know if we are there yet, but this is what's on my mind this morning.
I mean, if you look at the dynamics in Parliament, it is clear that any such impeachment probably would amount to nothing. And I'm not saying the cause means absolutely nothing, but if you look at the numbers, the sheer numbers in Parliament, the NDC has 183 seats. Ablekuma North is still up for grabs. No one knows where it will go. The MPP has 88, independents are 4, and we have Ablekuma North, which is the last one. That, in effect, gives the NDC about 66.3% of Parliament. You know what that means.
Yeah, it means they
so 2/3 is what? 66, because it's more like 100% divided by 3 would be like 33.333 or 999%. I think 33.3. So if you add it, it's 66 thereabouts. If any independents who have, by the way, so far from what I hear, have associated with the majority caucus, then it is clear. So from that angle, I doubt anything like that would happen. You remember under Akufo-Addo, there was talk about saying, however, the appropriateness or otherwise of the situation is what maybe we should be looking at. Some group may be making too much out of it, a mountain out of a molehill, but technically too, these were put in place so that there will not be a power vacuum.
Right.
So in the end, has there been a breach? And should there be, even if there will be no impeachment, should there be an apology of sorts or something? What are the consequences? Yeah.
Well, we have our guests with us now. Let me introduce Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. And I met him in person. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante is a political scientist and the head Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. We also have Dr. Jabir Mohammed. He's a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, Dr. Mohammed, welcome aboard. Good morning.
Good morning, sweetie, and good morning to Ben and our viewers as well. Of course, my colleague Jabir. Good morning.
Good morning, Doc.
Jabir, let's test your mic.
Yeah, good morning to you and good morning to our listeners.
Okay, great.
I don't know whether you can see my video.
Yes, we can see you and we can hear you loud and clear. Today, no discotheque lights. We're just... No, go ahead.
Today I've decided to off the light because Ben didn't like it. So.
But it's not that I didn't like it, Dr. Jabir. You see, why you... Those of us who have never stepped in a discotheque, I mean, this would be our opportunity. And you are taking the lights away from us. Why are you doing that? Dr. Mohammed.
Turn on the light.
But Dr. Mohammed is my former classmate, so I can get to tease him and get away with it, sweetie.
So, gentlemen, we will take your brief comments before we get into the newspapers. But, Doc, I'm curious to hear what your take is on the absence of the president, the vice president, and the Speaker of Parliament, and the arguments that minority are making on that. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. No, Dr. Asah-Asante, yes.
Oh, all right. if you follow the rules of the game, we are all alive to the pyramidal structure of power in this country. That at the apex, you have the president, followed by the vice, and the speaker, the chief justice. That's how the pyramid is. So in absence of one, there should be an opportunity for another to step into the shoes and act on behalf of whoever is absent. And this is something that is always accompanied, that action is accompanied by a letter to Parliament, notifying Parliament about the fact that the president is traveling, so the vice will act if the vice is not there, and so forth and so on. So I expect that such protocols will always be followed because we are dealing with the rules of the game. And in this case, I don't know whether a letter was written anywhere that the president will not be in town, but in his absence, the vice would be, which of course we know the vice is indisposed.
Yeah.
So then the speaker and whatnot. There are a lot of missing links which I'm struggling to find because I don't have information.
Right.
So I'm not able to conclude very well, but
Okay.
I'll give you something using the if conditions. And that if these things have been done, we expect that whoever is acting will be acting on the proper note, that he has been sworn in and the rest of them.
Okay.
If that is not the case, then there is an omission somewhere which need to be clarified or not. But those are technical legal questions.
Right.
So as a student of politics, let me shy away from those technical legal issues for the lawyers to deal with that.
Okay.
But if there is something that is missing, then there is obviously a missing link which we need to have answers to.
All right. Thank you for those brief comments. And Dr. Mohammed, take the next minute and a half to walk us through your trail of thoughts for us this morning.
Okay, before I go into my thoughts, I want to ask a simple question.
Jibril, 1 minute. Sweetie.
Yes, Doc.
I thought that this is a question for all of us because I had something.
True. So I took your 1 minute and a half from you. Okay, let's get into it, and then Dr. Mohammed, I'll circle back to you. Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
you say you thought it's a question for all of us.
Yes.
And I think that it's prudent we all address it.
So is that what you want to get into?
Yes, I want to chip into that before I
All
come
right,
up with
go
my
ahead,
own,
go ahead.
But I also want to come out with my opinion on something.
Okay. So, gentlemen, let's just do this. Dr. Asah-Asante, you've moved on from the impeachment bit. Go on with your thoughts. Dr. Mohammed, when we come to you, you can touch on the impeachment bit before you go on with your thoughts. Does that work, gentlemen?
Yes.
Okay, so
No,
Dr.
I'm good.
Asah-Asante, so you go ahead with your other thoughts.
Right. I want to look at the issue of this Sammy Gyamfi's case in brief. It is unfortunate that what happened. It is born out of indiscretion, nothing more, nothing less. So my view is that the government will investigate and then take appropriate decision on that. But having said this, let us look at, I have looked at certain things that ran through this type of gesture or action. And one is the fact that you can see what voluntary public apology. Once you do that, you are telling, it shows remorse. You have to show remorse, and it's in there. There is also the fact that you have weighed your actions, and for that matter, you want to assure the public that there will not be a repeat of such action. And it's a fine thing in politics that once you realize that you have gone wrong, you on your own volition comes out to say something that you are wrong. That is in line with governance processes and governance issues. Another issue that I can look or find in this area is the issue of hypocrisy in Ghanaian politics. I am not saying this to defend Sammy Gyamfi or whoever, no. But the hypocrisy here is that if you look at, people giving gift to their followers, to your party people, look, all political parties and politicians, they are all guilty in this country. I will not say all, but I can tell you a lot of them, because, look, they give monetary favors to people. They give material, a whole lot during campaign, during whatever. You will see their people following them. We have MPs who complain that their constituents besiege them in their offices, take money from them to go and pay for ABC and all that. Have we, as a society, commented on that? We have seen people who are arguing that, oh, Sammy should have given the money in private. That would have passed. You ask yourself whether in private, if it is not okay in public, in private, will it be okay? You see the hypocrisy in here. What I also see in this matter is conflict between socialization and ethics. We have been socialized as a society that give to the needy, support, give a helping hand. What you receive, give a little to people. When we do this, we are also caught in ethics of our profession. That, hey, you don't need to do this. You don't need to do that. Then, for me, there is a danger ahead of us in the future as to whether people can help people in need. Needy people, can public officers help them? Sometimes you see on television sets, people who are struggling. He's going through medical, cases. He's supposed to go through a certain test, a certain, process. Right. And people have to come into their aid. Are we going to help them? Who is going to donate? Is it a public officer? Can the public officer come here? Even funerals, all right? If a public officer goes to work, donate at your funeral, what would that be? How can people see it? There are a lot of big questions we need to answer. And then, of course, social pressure, where people put pressure on politicians. They go and sit in the office. They demand things. If you don't give us, we are going to vote against you. We are not foot soldiers, threaten you. And people even criticize from your own party that you came to office, you never supported foot soldiers. And, we need to support them.
Doc, so for the sake of time, you make very, important points, crucial points, in fact. But I'd like you to land so that we can take Dr.
Yeah, I'll land in 1 minute. Then the issue of the code comes in. If you read the code, it doesn't talk. It's silent on what? A giver of a gift, but the recipient. All right. What happens to, right, who gives? And the person even who receives, and then put pressure on you and all that. There are a lot of big conversation around this. But if you look at all these things in the light of societal demands and all that, I would urge people to reflect on the fact that as a Ghanaian society, giving gift, accepting gift, is it wrong or is it not? If there is a way we have to look at it, let's look at it. But I will end my, issue with 2 verses from Grams Morgan. He wrote with the title, People Like You. Is that if you give a little more than you take, and if you try to fix more than you break, if you are the kind who take the time to help a stranger in the rain, there is a place for people like you. If you stand up for those down on their knees and lend a voice to those who cannot speak, if you shine a little light, give sight to the one who has lost their way, there is a place for you. Is there a place for people who want to be kind to their fellow men in Ghanaian politics, despite the fact that they are politicians? Food for thought.
Thank you. Dr. Mohammed, I would encourage that you spend a little less time on that so that we can proceed with the main discussions. Please go ahead.
Okay, so the simple question I wanted to ask is that is there any way that when the president travels, we don't have to swear in another person because they had already taken their oath of office? If you look at the speaker, if you look at the chief justice, all of them have taken their oath of office. Or is it that you always have to take a presidential oath of office to be able to step in as a president? That is a question that I want our lawyers to answer. Now, clearly, if you look at just a brief on Sammy Gyamfi's issue, the gift was not in Ghana cedis. The gift was in the United States dollars. That is what a lot of people may have concerns about. I think that if he had slotted in few cedis to the lady, they wouldn't have had any bigger issue. And the point that the code of ethics is silent on the giver, and it is focusing on the receiver. I think that a code of conduct should be a code of conduct for all. Whether you are a giver or a receiver, you should be able to cover it. So if there is a need to amend the code of conduct to be able to cover some of these things, we have to do that in earnest. That is going to help to resolve most of the cases. I know that the issue is a very contentious issue, but I do believe that he erred and he has apologized. But that notwithstanding, I think that there should still be an investigative body to investigate why he had such an amount of dollars in his car. That is very, very important, and we have to do that. We don't have to take that lightly. Now, my point for the day is about the maintenance on our roads. I shared a video with your producer. I don't know whether he is able to play that. If you look at the stretch from Achimota to Okwasi, the road is being torn off. Portions of it, you will realize that the concrete is falling and the iron rocks are exposed and people are stealing the iron rocks. And this means that it is very, very important that we begin to maintain our roads. That road was just constructed between 2009 and 2020, what do you call it? Yeah, 2009 to 2012 or 2013. I believe that we need to take actions on that. Yesterday, I happened to send out to two very important people in this country, and I told them that they should share with the road minister. And I believe that these two important people are people that even one of them can even instruct the road minister, and they should be able to fix some of these problems. And you see, we cannot, if you are not able to maintain simple things on our roads, how can we continue to construct new roads when we cannot maintain the old ones? So I want to call that the finance minister should be able to budget 40% of the budget that should be coming from budgeting for roads and highways in this country should be for maintenance of our roads. And the 60% can be used for new roads. We should be able to maintain our old roads. It's very, very important. These are all death traps that you can even see on the screen. Can you imagine if another car comes to crash on this? What is going to happen? So we have to begin to think and do the right thing as a country.
Thank you, gentlemen, for those thoughts. Since we will not be coming back to the subject of any impeachment, I just wanted to quickly get to these things. I feel that it may be time we had some sort of second look at our constitution on these matters so we prevent petty squabbles. There is no full separation of powers in this country. It may not exist in many places, but especially where you have parliamentarians becoming members of the executive via the route of becoming ministers, it's highly problematic. But just specifically, Amanda Clinton and I have had some interactions. She's put something together. If you also look at the constitutional requirements, Article 69 of our Constitution talks about the reasons that could lead to an impeachment of a president. Violation of the Constitution, stated misbehavior, inability to perform his functions, among other things. If some may say that Article 68 has been breached, some may say that. But if you look at it, this may be very constitutionally possible, but politically improbable, like with the numbers that I mentioned. NDC with 183 out of the 276 votes, MPP 88, independence for, with Ablekuma North outstanding. Politically, if you look at it, even with a speaker from, the NDC stock, it's highly improbable. Moving beyond that, what we should look at is whether we need to take a second look at our constitution on this matter. Simple. Sweetie, let's get into the papers.
Yes, let's start with the Ghanaian publisher. On the front page, SML marks 5 years of downstream operations, rolls out upstream and minerals audit platform. In Sawam MCE, confirmation is a farce, according to Anodompré. Dr. Nick Danso picks Trade Industry Award, and spy chief threatens to reveal state secrets, according to his lawyer, Samuel Atachiam. Actually, a warning. I'll go through 4 main stories in the newspaper, and then I'll come to you, gentlemen, quickly. So I'll start from SML. Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited is marking 5 years of operations in the petroleum downstream sector, with an expansion of its revenue assurance mandate into Ghana's upstream petroleum and solid mineral sector, building on a record of accomplishment of digitizing fuel audits and plugging revenue leakages in the downstream petroleum industry. Second story, spy chief threatens to reveal state secrets, according to Samuel Atachiam. Now, lawyer for embattled former Director General of the National Signals Bureau, Mr. Kwabene Dubois, have served notice that their client may be compelled to reveal sensitive national security information in order to mount a full defense in his ongoing trial. Quote, "They are pushing him into areas concerning national security, and when push comes to shove, he has to defend himself." The third story I want to look at, grounding the Kotoka clause, why swearing in an acting president for travel is a constitutional folly. And this is according to Kwekwaza. And because we've touched briefly on this, I just want to skip this and go to the back page. Okay, so there's a story here about a commendable step towards lasting peace in Boko. And the recent development in the long-standing Boko conflict brings a welcome breath of relief, not only to the residents, but also to the nation as a whole. And Asantehino Tumfosetutu II has confirmed that his ongoing mediation efforts between the feuding factions, Kusasi and Mamprusi, have resulted in a period of relative calm, a significant achievement in a dispute that has claimed lives. I'll pause here and just add this headline: Minority accuses Mahama of violating the Constitution. And also, this is in line with the absence of the President, the Vice President, and the Speaker of Parliament, which leaves us in the hands of the acting Chief Justice. Gentlemen, over to you. And that's all I'll do from the Ghanaian publisher. Let me start with you, Dr. Mohammed.
Okay, Sweetie, the SML, I think, looking at their operations, significantly, they've done very well. Plugging in revenue leakages is very important to show up the revenue mobilization of the country. And you all know, we just spoke about rules and other things. You cannot develop them without having revenue. But what I want to call on them is that, we need more expertise to be able to fish out what is a quantum of oil, or what is a quantum of oil that is being extracted in our upstream industry. That is very important. Technically, we have not been able to quantify it very well because we don't have the expertise to be able to do so. So if SML, platform, would be able to guide us to be able to get the right quantity, then it means that we can get the right share of the oil that we truly deserve. So for instance, if you look at our royalties, the royalties are calculated on the base of the kind. That is, it means that whatever you have produced, the quantity that you have produced, a percentage of it is calculated as royalty, and it is given to the state. So if you are not able to properly quantify that and know that this is the true value of what we have produced, it means that we are not going to have the true value of our share. So we have to begin to work on that. And secondly, our participating interest is calculated based on how much quantity is being produced. So if you don't have the expertise to be able to drive on that and get the total amount, how do you calculate our participating interest on that? And also, the taxes that we are going to be receiving is going to be based on their net earnings. We call it rent, the difference between their cost of production and how much they sell the product. We call it oil rent. So the rent that we are going to be receiving is going to be less. And studies have shown that across the world, the international oil companies take close to 73% of the total, 77% of the total amount of revenue that is generated from oil resources. And only 23% goes to the nation that owns it, especially if you practice the production sharing agreement. So I do believe that we need to work very hard to be able to work on this.
All right.
This is why I did my PhD. My PhD was in oil and gas. So I'm very much familiar with some of these issues. Now, to the issue of the Boku crisis, I know that the Asante is making a significant progress on that. And I remember recently the IGP and his entourage, that was last Friday, visited Asante.
Yeah.
And Asante briefed them on this particular issue. And I think that progress is being made. The same spirit that was used in Dagban to be used over there so that we can find an amicable solution on that. In the case of Dagban, it was just one family fighting. But in the case of Boku, there are two separate families fighting. There are two separate tribes fighting.
Yeah.
But all of us are coming from the Mole Dagbani, what they call a client or tradition. I do believe that if we sit down and settle our matters well, we will find amicable solution to this, and peace will return in the area.
Yeah.
And Boku is a very important business district. And the people, if they move away, it's going to be a significant loss of revenue to the country. So we all need a right and a responsibility to be able to ensure that we have a lasting peace over there so that the country can even benefit from the trade-related activities within that enclave.
All right.
Now, finally, on the majority issue or minority issue of, minority caucus accusing, no, we have already talked about that.
We have, yes. Yes.
Adubuahin case is something that is a serious matter. He occupied a very sensitive position.
True.
And national security is a very serious matter. So I think that we should be able to censor some of the things that he's going to say. It's not everything that he's going to say that should come in public. He can use that to open it as his defense. But the media should not be reporting on some of the sensitive issues because it borders on national security. And if you tackle a nation's installation, national security is like an installation of the country. So if you tackle that installation, you have destroyed the whole country. So we have to be mindful about some of the comments that come out. But that notwithstanding, we should also be interested in getting out the required information. There is a way to be able to do that. There is something called Nash equilibrium in economics. You have to be able to establish a Nash equilibrium between the state and that of, and that of Adubuahin, in a sense that you meet Adubuahin interests and you similarly meet the state interest as well. So let's have a Nash equilibrium. Let's use the game theory and have a better outcome as a result of it.
Thank you, Dr. Jabri Mohammed. But if he's under oath and he says these things, if they come out, Ghanaians in the media, we will talk about it. So it's about how and where he gives these testimonies, I guess, is what where the detail will be. But
so that is why I said that we have to reach a Nash equilibrium in a sense that he benefits and the state also benefits.
Yeah.
If we allow certain sensitive information to come out and you, the media, come and report it and everybody talks about it, you have just exposed your anus in the general public.
All right.
The whole world. And we don't want to do that as a country.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammed. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, your take now.
Yeah, SML, good work. They've worked very hard. I hope and pray that they will continue to do a good job, and that for me, all that I'm looking forward to is that we get the right revenue and jobs are created for our people. But there are a large army of youth who are parading our street without jobs, and it's a threat to our security.
Yeah.
If they get jobs, the country get resources, we are good to go.
All right.
2, issue of Boku. Yes, I am a peace lover, and I always want to preach peace. If you read our constitution, the preamble, it said we are prepared to live in peace with our neighbors. Even the constitution, we are saying neighbors. So here, about ourselves, we are prepared to live in peace. So whatever there is that the factions need to do, or the groups, let me say, the groups need to do, I'm sure before Asante, all will come to an end so that Boko will come up again, and then Boko will be able to contribute its quota to the development of this country. I think that is all I can say.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. You didn't want to say anything on the spy chief, Edu Buahini, and the threats to reveal national secrets if push comes to shove?
You and Ben, you know my position. When cases are before court,
yeah,
I leave it at that appropriate forum for it to be dealt with. So let me leave it with the appropriate forum. Yeah.
Over to you, Ben.
Well, let me start with these comments coming through from Reverend Latte, also a doyen of the law. He says, good morning. Any plan or intention to impeach the president or the speaker for their absence will be an act of futility. Albeit, in my view, it is reasonable for the president to issue an apology. So I think we're on the same page there. I feel the gentlemanly thing would be to, look, I didn't mean this, and to apologize. But an impeachment, it's clear it will not, at least per the parliamentary situation, not happen. And whether the threshold can be met is another case, just as we talk of the CJ's case. He also says, please tell me what happened to the investigation into the violent disruption of the vetting of nominees. Do you remember? Do you remember that? Yeah. Recently, it's interesting because I was thinking of saying that, okay, so did things just die off? We're talking about Sammy Gyamfi now. We'll delve into the issues, but in the end, we would expect that government, after his meeting with the chief of staff, there would be some resolution, right? So I asked myself about other things too that may have happened, like this one. Where do we go from there? Do we get to hear Afinyo Markin and the police officer? Will there be any conclusion? You see how stories die in this country. It just starts and then it's dead. And he says, what happened to those who incited and perpetrated violence? Those who were saying, Muntutu, Muntutu, Muntutu. It's interesting in this country. Anyway.
And Ben, let me even remind you of something. What happens to the soldiers who besiege Parliament?
Yes.
What happened to that?
Yes.
What happened to that? And you see, one of the problems, I'll blame it on ourselves. When I say ourselves, media people. Because if you read the Media Foundation over the years, they were writing stories about the performance of the media. And one of the things that they flagged over the years was that journalists were not following up stories. Yes, if we are following up stories, once a while, we bring this thing up and let people do. I will take you back. What about the censure motion? What happened? What happened? The censure motion. Ufurata censure motion. What happened to it? And we don't follow stories. So I will urge my colleagues that follow stories, because it's one way that we can bring some of these things back to life.
Doc, I used to host a program called Total Recall many years ago. I think another problem is that if, as a journalist, you do a story over and over and over and over, and the powers that be, it is clear they will not take any action on them, and you cannot take the action. At some point, some fatigue sets in. Ahmed Hussein Swale. How many times have we spoken about it? Latif Idrisu, my colleague, and his assault by, police officers. Now I hear the AG is saying there was no such situation. It wasn't as characterized and all of that. That matter is still, as far as I know, in court. Do you remember the Central Medical Stores? A long time ago, that fire, and then people, whether it was arson, and all these issues have been there. For how long did we speak about them? So at some point, it just becomes, almost so frustrating that...
No, I agree with you.
Central Medical Stores, how many years was that?
Yeah, what we can also do out of this is, as journalists, we force it down the throat of politicians who want power, and it becomes part and parcel of their manifesto. You saw as Mahama took this investigations into consideration, you see the results, Ahmed Swale and co. So sometimes that's one way. We push it down their throat when they are looking for power. They are desperately looking for power, and things of this nature, they want to swallow it.
I see.
So,
Dr. Mohammed,
I agree with you.
Okay, do you have any thoughts on this, or should I go on?
Yes, I also think that some time back, I was telling Bernard Avlo, they had a program in University of Ghana. I tell them that, look, it's like you organize some of these programs. At the end of the day, nothing comes out of it. So why don't you have a way to compile most of the most revealing stories into a document, just like our former lecturer said, and make it as a form of proposal to political parties to adopt it and incorporate it into their manifesto. So if you know that this is a very touching and revealing story, you compile all of them. All the Media Foundation can do that. They can use all media houses' information, find out the most important stories that are reported by almost everybody. These days, you can even use AI, data science, to be able to compile some of this information. So when you have it, you have it as a form of a book. Then these are the stories, and this is what is reported, and this is what has been followed up. This is the outcome of it. And this is where the case has gotten to. Then when you submit it, then this information can be taken, and proper outcome can be generated out of it. But if you just report it and we leave it like that, I mean, even some of the cases that they report, they are very, very funny. You read some of them, it's full of errors. A lot of problems with some of the reportage. Sometimes I read some news items, what I want to get out of it, I'm not able to get anything sensible. So I think even your people that you train, I remember some time back, we were training financial journalists. I think it was Bloomberg that was doing that program.
True.
University of Ghana Business School was doing that. Yeah. I remember some of you might have benefited out of it.
Yeah.
So we need to be able to you also need the training so that you can report and report appropriately.
All right.
Yeah, some of the things, honestly speaking, it doesn't wash water.
And when you mentioned report, it just quickly brought to mind Professor Frimpong Boateng's report on Galamsey, one of the foremost problems we are facing in this country for 2 years, yes, until it was leaked. Do you see how bad the situation is? So sometimes you can say, oh yeah, let's get it to the powers that be, but it was sitting on a desk for 2 years, no action until it was leaked, and we, the media, spoke about it. So, but I do agree that we must do more. We still have more responsibility. There's more we can also do. There's more academics can also do. There's more all of us can do to ensure that these matters are dealt with. Let me get into the Daily Graphic newspaper now. Guta endorses GSA measurement enforcement. Professor Amayao Ekumfi, former GIF CEO, let me put it that way, charged over $2 million SkyTrain project. Obviously, na FM de enokra munye na esrode. COPEC lauds SML's revenue assurance model. Police update on Galamsey fight, 99 excavators seized, 208 arrested. On the back page, Peckham Energy's partners give scholarships to Ghanaian students. And Tetequashe Hospital gets 5.8 million Ghana City dialysis center to tackle kidney disease. That definitely is a plus. But let's get into some of the stories. So the police have arrested 208 suspects in connection with illegal mining, popularly known as Galamsey, in a series of operations in some Galamsey endemic areas that started in March this year. The police have so far retrieved 99 excavators, 3 bulldozers, 4 pump action guns, 3 single-barreled guns, and a pistol in the special operations, also undertaken in several regional police commands, a highly placed police source has said. However, when I talk about all of these and the gains that we are making, I must also add, you remember that assault on a forestry commission office, I believe, somewhere in the Ashanti region, where some people attempted taking certain excavators, and then there was a call for them to return the excavators. We hear that in recent times there has been another attempt. I think there should be a tightening of the system because we can't keep going back and forth like this. Let me also add, exam malpractice, national security threat, and the West African Examinations Council has expressed deep concern over coordinated cheating schemes. Underline, coordinated cheating schemes, some reportedly involving entire schools in premeditated examination malpractice, saying the menace is becoming a national security threat. The council said such unethical acts, often facilitated by students, school authorities, and even trusted stakeholders, posed a serious threat to the credibility and integrity of the examination process. I want to pause there. Both of you are academics. You lecture, you give exams, there's AI and everything. What are your reflections on these? What are the challenges? I'll start with you, Dr. Mohammed. I think we should start from your end.
Yeah, for the exam malpractice first, right?
Yes, you can deal with that and then talk Galamsey.
Okay, these days it's very funny. The last time I was marking some scripts in economics, if you look at some of the things that some of the students were writing, they're just too funny. You ask them about depression in economics. Then you say depression is when you are not feeling well. You are depressed. So you see some
economic depression, and that's what they were writing? Is that what you're saying?
That's what they were writing, level 200. You can imagine that. And this is the person who is coming out to be to be working in Ghana.
Yeah.
That will be depressing.
Yes. So you just notice that these days children, they are not studying anything. Even when you hand over everything to their throats, they will say want the easy way out. So now the best thing they do is that they go to the exam hall with their phones. And whatever they type in with the AI, whatever comes out is what they write. And I think that it is time we have to step in a lot of actions. In University of Ghana, when you bring your phone in, we get you, we arrest you. The invigilators will take you on. You will have to fill a form and go through a disciplinary action. And sometimes your entire, degree can be withdrawn. So I think that the West Africa Examination Council and even the schools, they have to be honest. There are so many schools that are now even teaching all their students everything. They get the good grades, they come to the university, they cannot do anything. And I think it is now time for us to begin to put in additional measures to be sure that whatever people who are coming to the university are properly qualified.
Right.
In the past, they used to write entrance examination before they even come in. I think that it is time to bring that back so that we can censor the kind of people who even come to the universities. So
right.
West Africa Examination Council is a good call. And I think that we need to push that and push it well. Now, on the issue of the excavators.
Gentlemen, briefly for me, so that we can maximize the rest of the time. Briefly.
Very brief. Gone are the days. They used to, the past government, seized about 300 and something excavators, or even 400 and something. Some of them vanished in no time. So this time around, let's put in the appropriate measures so that those excavators that have been seized, we can distribute them to the district assemblies. They can use them to pave the roads that are very bad. So let's do that.
All right.
That's all what I have to say on that.
Dr. Asah-Asante, you can imagine, if cheating becomes the norm, which it has become, and these people become leaders, the sort of contracts they will sign and the agreements they will enter our country into. It's something to watch, isn't it? Your thoughts?
Yes. You see, when you look at this problem, it has been with us since time immemorial. But I must be fair here to say that the state, WAEC themselves, they've tried to improve upon it. But we still have the problem lingers on. It tells us that there's more to do. Before, you hear examination malpractice and you hear WAEC officials themselves, some were caught in that web. We have seen what saddens me. Now you are seeing what the stakeholders, they begin, some of them, parents, guardians, they go out to buy questions. Where they get the questions, nobody knows. They buy questions and all that. You have now people resorting to the use of what? AI and all that. Once those, technology will always be around with us. But once technology comes in, we as teachers must also up our game. That yes, you may have a device,
right,
but I'll put the question in such a way that your device will not help you. I do MCQ on some of my examination, and it's off site. Students will congregate, look at it and write, and people score 0. They are so surprised because the questions are practical questions, and I'm sure Ben and then Jibril, you yourself who attest to that. Yes, you can't find it anywhere. So we need to up our game as teachers, examiners, set questions that will stand the test of time and also tighten the whole process. I like my school, UJ.
Right.
For examination malpractice, you can dream about it, but it won't happen because we will catch you. we will catch you. So WAEC should be able, and the stakeholder, to make sure that things work. Then I am happy about a story about Tetekwashi Hospital. You know, that's my constituency, right? And we are getting dialysis equipment. Yes, it's going to help us, but that doesn't mean that we should also be careless in our lives, our health conditions. We need to do what we need to do. But in the event that we are affected one way or the other by some of these illnesses, then we can go there for relief. But I will urge the hospital authorities. One of the things that affect health delivery in this country is that we are not able to maintain equipment that are given to us.
Right.
I'm not saying that is the case for Tetekwashi Hospital, but I'm saying that it's a general thing. So they can bring this thing on board and then make sure that we have value for money. Galamsey and fight and the police update is good, but we need to do more. Let's get all the basics right so that we can deal with Galamsey once and for all.
Let me quickly wrap with the following stories. I'll spend very little time on them, but there's a quote like the Daily Graphic will give you. This time it's on page 18. Carly Fiorina is former CEO of Hewlett-Packard, and she says, I think leadership of any kind requires trust and transparency, and voters should demand no less from their political leadership in government. I will repeat. I think leadership of any kind requires trust and transparency, and voters should demand no less from their political leadership in government. In politics, 4 more MCE nominees in Greater Accra confirmed the president's first 120 days. There are some thoughts there shared by Dr. John Osai Kwapong, who is a regular here. He talks about the 24-hour economy and more. Let's simplify work permit procedures for job migrants, Labour Minister says to ECOWAS. National consultation begins on Abidjan-Lagos corridor project. Trump, bin Salman hold talks in Saudi Arabia. We know what's going on there. Over 50 Pakistanis killed in clash with India. And what I'll just read a little bit of an end. It's an opinion piece on page 10. Living with lupus, battle fought in silence. It's a story of survival. I have known 1 or 2 people, in fact more, who have suffered this, and a good friend is currently battling it. If you've never heard of lupus, check it out. It can affect multiple organs, including the joints, kidneys, heart, lungs, skin, and nervous system. Basically, your body fighting against your body, immunity. And we need more systems in this country to deal with some such situations. That's how I'll wrap. If there are any thoughts, they have to be very brief, and Sweetie will continue with the rest of the papers. Gentlemen, any thoughts, briefly?
Trust and transparency, critical components in good governance. I will urge the citizenry to make sure that people that we give power to want to ensure.
Okay,
all right, thank you.
Let me end this segment with the Accra Times newspaper. I will just read out the headlines, and then when I'm done, you can reflect on one main story that piques your interest. But I'll end on an interesting story, a journalist who dies at 102. So on the front page of the Accra Times, bribery allegations against Defense and Interior Committee. Agalga debunks Edubuahen's claim. Minority wants Sammy Gyamfi's head. Funeral of Francis Asiana, father of Paul Afoko, slated for May 17th. NPA boss to crack the whip on non-compliant oil marketing companies. And this is from the Memphis Central DC saying that he salutes his MP. Let me get into the paper proper and see what other headlines I can add to that. I have taken Mohammed's Code of Conduct as a Bible, Edujita Maklu says. Government to establish University of Agriculture and Life Sciences in Kintampo, according to the Minister of Education, Haruna Idrisu. Father jailed 10 years for impregnating 15-year-old daughter. Oh, my God. Again? Oh, okay. It's the same story from yesterday. And I remember saying that, and I repeat, if you or if anyone out there knows the whereabouts of this young girl, please reach out to me, reach out to Girl Get Up Africa. We want to help her, give her psychological support. And anyhow we can help her, please reach out to me across all social media platforms, Sweetie Abochi or Girl Get Up Africa. We really want to get in touch with this girl. And those will be it. So here's the story. I was reading a bit of it and I found it interesting. Salongo John Jones Sewanga, who is believed to be Uganda's oldest journalist, has passed on at age 102. And it's an interesting story. I can't get into the details because of time. But gentlemen, pick one main story that piques your interest and give us your reflections. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, you first.
University of Agric, good tidings, but the people we train, let us support them so that when they come, they will be able to live up to expectation. Let us develop Agric to the highest, add value to the things that we have here so that Agric becomes what? Meaningful. Otherwise, all universities can be set up, but it will amount to nothing.
All right. And Dr. Mohammed, when you said these days children, I did a quick translation in my mind and immediately I got offended. I said, Egbavio, that's how my mom used to insult me. Egbavio, you know, like these days children, every time you want to do something, they say, these days children, Kola. But I forget I'm old now. I'm no longer a Kola. Please, your reflections for us.
Yeah, I think I also want to look at the University of Life and Natural Sciences.
Right.
I think it's a good call. It is time for us to give more weight to agriculture, even though we have it in silos in most universities. Now, if you look at the enclave over there in the Bono East region, a significant number of the people are farmers. And I think that it is now time for us to be able to bring life to their farming activities and to make sure that livestock are very important. Can you imagine how much protein we import? We import a lot of chicken from outside.
Yeah.
A lot of millions of dollars are sunk into it. So if you are able to come out with good livestock, can you imagine how much money we can save as a country? So that university from the education minister is a good call. He said that he's going to table the bill before Parliament very soon. And I'm looking forward to see that bill. And I commend him for that.
All right. Let me just get these out. Zelensky says he is ready to meet Putin for direct talks in Turkey. Pope affirms support for press freedom in First News Conference. Mahama calls for common African position ahead of 2025 G20 summit. And that will be all. In showbiz, musical talents display sterling performances at Adam Fopa Talent Quest. 2025 TGMA, Ayisi wins Record of the Year. That's one of my favorite artists, Ayisi. Congratulations to him and King Paluta. It's never too late to celebrate y'all. Thank you all so much.
Well, in terms of that arrangement in Turkey between Ukraine and Russia, Zelensky is actually insisting that this time, if Putin himself is not showing up in Turkey, he's not showing up either. So no representatives, come, let's do this face to face. And that's what he is sharing there. Let me just do this very quickly. A happy birthday to one of the finest of the family, Mama Daswa II, Queen Mother of Jelukope, and a member of the Anglon Duko Traditional Council. May you soar high and see beautiful things in the coming year. With love from Mamavi Sefako Tay. Enjoy your era with love. And that's the message from Mamavi Sefako Tay to Mama Daswa II, Queen Mother of Jelukope.
Gentlemen, final take and we will pop off. Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, you first.
The issue about MCs and all that, I believe that whatever happens, we need our MC, DCs and all that to do the work. But when they go there, they should remember that politics emanate from the grassroots and that they should serve the people with all their best. And at the end of the day, our democracy will be better off.
Thank you. Dr. Mohammed, final word.
Okay. Trust and transparency is good for everyone, not just only the governance sector. I believe that each and every one of us has to be trustworthy. And we have to be transparent in our daily activities and our dealings. If you're able to do so, we will have a good country to live in.
Well, those who joined the conversation, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. He's a political scientist. We had Dr. Jabir Mohammed. He's a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Sweetie, we used to have this thing with our sports people. It just brought to mind. What do you think about arm wrestling?
Oh, I think I'll win over you hands down. I have very strong arms.
You think you could beat me?
Have you seen these arms? Have you seen these arms?
They look like something. I will not mention on air. But do stick and stay. Sports is up next. Someday, if you want to duel, we'll do it right here in the middle.